Hogan's Last Reel, The Unsolved Murder of Bob Crane. A sweltering night in Scottsdale, Arizona, June 1978. A faded TV star lies dead in a blood-soaked bed, his skull shattered, an electrical cord knotted around his neck. The room's silent, except for the hum of video cameras. Still guarding secrets he took to the grave. His name? Bob Crane. Colonel Hogan to millions. A household hero from Hogan's Heroes. But behind the laughs and the limelight, Crane was chasing a darker reel, one that ended in a murder no one solved in 47 years. Welcome to Ontario Cold Cases, Canada's True Crime Podcast. I'm Jay Nicoll, Nicoll Investigations, and today we're crossing borders to unravel a Hollywood mystery that's as chilling as any northern tale. From a Connecticut drummer banging his way to fame, to a man consumed by a private obsession with film and flesh. Bob Crane's life was a script of highs and lows, till someone ripped out the final page. Was it his shadowy sidekick, John Carpenter, with blood on his rental car? A lover scorned from his secret tapes? Or a stranger who slipped into the night? This is Hogan's Last Reel, The Unsolved Murder of Bob Crane. A story of stardom, vice, and a crime scene that's still screaming for answers. He started as a kid in Waterbury, Connecticut, pounding drums and cracking jokes, a spark in a factory town. By the 60s, he was ruling LA radio waves, then commanding TV screens as the sly Colonel Hogan. 30 million fans a week, a grin that lit up the world. But fame's a fickle stage. By 1978, Crane was 49, his star dimming, his knife spent chasing women through a camera lens. Hundreds, maybe thousands, caught on tape with a partner who wouldn't let go. Then came that Arizona morning, a locked room slaughter, a missing weapon, and a trail gone cold. Theories swirl, jealousy, betrayal, a random hand. But the reel keeps spinning, no end in sight. Grab a seat, turn up the volume, and let's dive into the shadows of Bob Crane's final act. Hello, I'm Jay Nicoll, Nicoll Investigations. This is Ontario Cold Cases, Canada's True Crime Podcast. Ontario Cold Cases is a gripping true crime podcast that shines a light on unsolved murders, disappearances, and forgotten crimes from across the province and the world. With meticulous research, compelling storytelling, and a commitment to historical accuracy, we bring you the real stories of victims, investigators, and suspects, stories that demand to be heard. Each week, we take you deep into the world of true crime with a packed schedule of episodes. Tuesdays, historical true crime cases, exploring infamous and obscure crimes from history. Wednesdays, the Mick and Mac Mysteries, a thrilling fictional detective series set in 1950s Toronto. Thursdays, World Cold Case Thursday, investigating unsolved cases from around the globe. Sundays, Ontario Cold Cases, the latest episode uncovering an unsolved mystery from Ontario. From high-profile crimes that shock the nation to little-known cases waiting for justice, we uncover the truth, one case at a time. Join us as we explore the dark corners of history and mystery, where every clue could lead to answers and every case deserves a second look. Subscribe now wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts and never miss an episode of Ontario Cold Cases, Canada's True Crime Podcast. The early life and rise of Bob Crane. Before the cameras, the tapes, and the blood-stained bed, Bob Crane was just a kid from Waterbury, Connecticut, dreaming of a life bigger than the factory smokestacks of his hometown. Born Robert Edward Crane on July 13, 1928, he came in the world at the tail end of the Roaring '20s, the youngest of two boys in a working-class family. His dad, Alfred, was a salesman, and his mum, Rose, kept the home fires burning. Waterbury was a gritty industrial hub, brass mills and clock factories. Not exactly a launch pad for stardom. But Crane had a spark, and he lit it early. Music was his first love. By age 11, he was banging drums in the school band, a natural rhythm junkie. He wasn't just good, he was obsessive, practicing for hours, mimicking big band drummers like Gene Krupa on the radio. Classmates at Waterbury's Willoughby High School nicknamed him the Clown for his quick wit and goofy charm, traits that stuck with him. He graduated in 1946, barely 18, and dodged the tail end of World War II. Instead of college or a factory job, Crane chased gigs, playing drums for local orchestras, jazz combos, anything that paid a dime and kept the beat alive. The early 1950s were his proving ground. Crane married his high school sweetheart, Ann Terzian, in 1949, and they started a family. 3 kids would come along: Robert Jr., Deborah, and Karen. To pay the bills, he took odd jobs, but music kept calling. Then radio happened. In 1950, he landed a spot at WLEA in Hornell, New York, spinning records and cracking jokes between tracks. His voice, warm, playful, a little mischievous, caught on. He bounced to WBIS in Bristol, Connecticut, then WICC in Bridgeport, sharpening his patter. By 1956, he'd hit the big time. KNX in Los Angeles, the CBS radio voice of Hollywood. KNX was Crane's rocket ride. He turned the morning show into a circus. Impersonations of Jack Benny, sound effects, prank calls, even drumming live on air. Celebrities like Marilyn Monroe and Frank Sinatra dropped by, trading barbs with his fast-talking Connecticut transplant. He called it organized chaos, and LA ate it up. By the early 1960s, he was pulling $100,000 a year, about $1 million in today's money, making him one of the highest-paid radio hosts in the country. The guy who'd once hauled drums to gigs in a beat-up Chevy was now hobnobbing with the elite, a self-made star in a town that chewed up dreamers. Then came television. In 1963, Crane dipped his toe into acting, with guest spots on the Donna Reed Show and the Dick Van Dyke Show. He was no trained thespian. His stage was a microphone, not a script. But producers saw something, that everyman charm, the twinkle in his eye. In 1965, CBS handed him the keys to Hogan's Heroes, a sitcom about Allied POWs outsmarting bumbling Nazis in a German camp. It was a wild pitch, comedy in a POW setting, but Crane's Colonel Hogan made it work. Suave, sarcastic, always one step ahead. He led the Unsolved to 6 seasons and 168 episodes, airing from 1965 to 1971. The show was a smash. At its peak, it drew 30 million viewers a week, cementing Crane as a household name. He nabbed 2 Emmy nominations for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Comedy Series, 1966 and 1967, though he never won. Off-screen, he was the life of the party, drumming at cast rap events, flashing that $1 million grin. By 1971, he'd banked fame, fortune, and a reputation as America's cheeky wartime hero. But the spotlight doesn't last forever. When Hogan Heroes ended, Crane's star dimmed. TV roles dried up, typecasting stuck him as Hogan, and a 1975 Disney flop, Superdad, tanked. By 1978, he was 49, divorced from Ann, remarried to Patty Olson from the Hogan set, and grinding it out in dinner theater. Beginner's Luck at the Windmill in Scottsdale was his latest gig, a far cry from Hollywood sound stages. The drummer from Waterbury had climbed high, but the fall was already in motion. Bob Crane's rise was pure American dream. Talent, hustle, a beat he could march to. But beneath the laughs and the limelight, something else was brewing. A private rhythm, darker and more compulsive, that would soon take center stage. Up next, Bob Crane's private obsession. Bob Crane's private obsession. To understand Bob Crane's murder, we have to peel back the layers of his public persona. The affable Colonel Hogan from Hogan's Heroes, and step into a shadow world he cultivated off-screen. By the late 1970s, Crane wasn't just a fading TV star, he was a man consumed by an obsession with pornography and a compulsive need to document his sexual encounters on film. It's a thread that runs through his life, and some say, straight to his death. This wasn't a casual interest. Crane's fixation began years before his murder, blossoming in the late 1960s as his fame peaked. Friends and colleagues describe it as an open secret in Hollywood circles. He wasn't shy about it, at least not with those he trusted. Crane saw himself as a pioneer of sorts, a libertine embracing the sexual revolution with a camera in hand. He once bragged to a friend, "I'm living the life every guy dreams of," a line that sounds hollow now, knowing how it ended. It started with still photography. Crane had a knack for it. Years as a drummer and radio DJ honed his technical skills, and he turned that precision to Polaroids and 35mm film. He'd meet women at bars, clubs, or through his celebrity status, charming them with his boyish grin and quick wit. Many were fans, others were aspiring actresses drawn to his orbit. He'd invite them back to his place or a hotel, snap photos, some posed, some candid, often explicit. But as technology evolved, so did his methods. By the early 1970s, Crane graduated to video. This was cutting-edge stuff. Home video recorders were bulky, expensive toys for the tech-savvy few. Crane dove in head first, amassing a collection of cameras, tripods, and VCRs. He partnered with John Carpenter, a video equipment salesman he met around 1969, who became his wingman and tech guru. Together, they turned Crane's hobby into a production line. They'd hit the nightlife, places like the Safari Coffee Shop in Los Angeles, or Bobby McGee's in Scottsdale, scouting for women willing to be filmed. Crane's pitch was smooth. Private movie, a keepsake, a bit of fun. Some said yes eagerly, others less so, but went along anyway. The scale of it was staggering. After his death, police found hundreds of tapes and photos in his apartment. Some say thousands over the years. Bedrooms were his studio. A tripod by the bed, a camera rolling. Crane directing the action with the ease of a seasoned filmmaker. He edited the footage himself, splicing together highlight reels he'd show off to friends like Carpenter or even casual acquaintances. It was a badge of pride, a conquest catalog. Second wife Patty later claimed she found stacks of these tapes during their marriage, some featuring women she recognized, others strangers. She said Crane saw it as art, not sleaze, though not everyone agreed. But here's where it gets complicated. Consent wasn't always clear-cut. Some women knew they were being recorded and signed unwillingly. Crane kept lease forms for a few, a nod to legality. Others didn't. There are stories of women discovering tapes after the fact, furious or humiliated, though no formal complaints surfaced publicly during his lifetime. In the pre-Me Too era, such behavior often stayed hushed up, especially with a celebrity involved. Crane's charm smoothed over rough edges, until it didn't. By 1978, this obsession was wearing thin. Crane was 49, divorced from his first wife Anne, and estranged from Patty. His career was a shadow of its former self, relegated to dinner theater gigs. Friends noticed a shift. He talked about scaling back, maybe quitting the lifestyle altogether. He told his son, Robert Jr., he wanted to clean up his act and focus on acting again. He even hinted to colleagues in Scottsdale that he was done with Carpenter, whose own appetite for the game never waned. Was it exhaustion, guilt, or pressure from someone fed up with being a star in his private films? This double life wasn't just a quirk. It was a ticking clock. Crane's tapes weren't locked away. They were shared, flaunted, a potential powder keg of jealousy or revenge. Police later wondered, did one of these women, or a husband, a boyfriend, snap? Did Carpenter, possessive of their partnership, see Crane's exit as betrayal? Or was it someone else entirely, drawn into his orbit and pushed too far? The crime scene, with its missing tripod and personal brutality, hinted a killer who knew Crane's world intimately. Bob Crane's obsession wasn't a footnote. It was a lens into his murder. A man who filmed his desires left behind a legacy of images, but also enemies. In that Scottsdale apartment, surrounded by his cameras, his past may have caught up with him. Real by bloody real. Up next, the crime scene. The crime scene, June 29, 1978. Let's step into apartment 132A at the Winfield Place complex in Scottsdale, Arizona, on that fateful morning of June 29, 1978. Just after 2 o'clock p.m., when Victoria Ann Berry, a fellow actor from the Windmill Dinner Theater, walks through the unlocked front doors. She's there because Bob Crane, star of Hogan's Heroes and her co-star in Beginner's Luck, missed a lunch meeting, and that's not like him. What she finds inside stops her cold. The apartment is a modest 2-bedroom unit, typical of a transient performer's life. Functional, sparsely furnished, a temporary home. The living room is unremarkable, a couch, a coffee table, maybe some scripts scattered around. But it's the master bedroom where the story turns grim. Bob Crane is sprawled across the bed, lying face down, his head turned slightly to the left. He's shirtless, wearing only dark pants, his body partially covered by a tangled sheet. The bed itself is a mess. Rumpled linens, stained with blood, a stark contrast to the otherwise tidy room. The blood is everywhere, or at least it feels that way. A large pool is soaked into the pillow beneath Crane's head, dark and drying at the edges. Smears streak across the headboard and the wall behind it, forming an arc that tells a silent story of violence. Investigators later determined he was struck twice with a heavy object. Powerful, crushing blows that caved in the right side of his skull. The autopsy pins it down. Blunt force trauma to the temporal and parietal regions, delivered with enough force to kill him instantly, likely while he slept. No defensive wounds in his hands or arms. He never had a chance to fight back. Then there's the electrical cord. It's tied around Crane's neck in a loose, almost theatrical knot, a double loop, like a grotesque bow. It's not tight enough to strangle him, and the autopsy confirms it didn't. The cord, black and about 6 feet long, was likely yanked from a piece of equipment in the room. Was it a signature, a taunt, or just an afterthought? Police can't say for sure, but adds a layer of eerie mystery to the scene. The bedroom isn't just a murder scene. It's a snapshot of Crane's private world. Scattered around are his tools of obsession: a collection of video cameras, tripods, and stacks of homemade adult tapes. This isn't a secret to those who knew him. Crane's habit of filming his sexual encounters was an open book among his circle. A VCR sits on a small table, wired to a TV, and there's a tripod base near the bed, though no tripod head is attached. Could it be the murder weapon? Detective seized the idea. A heavy metal tripod could match the wounds, but the actual weapon is never found. No bloody tripod, no discarded club, nothing left behind to clinch the theory. The room itself shows no chaos beyond the bed. The carpet is clean, no footprints or drag marks. The window blinds are shut tight. The sliding glass door to the patio is locked from the inside. No signs of a break-in, no jimmy marks on the front door, no shattered glass. Whoever did this either had a key, was let in, or slipped through an unlocked entrance. The thermostat hums quietly, set to combat the Arizona heat, but the air feels heavy with what's happened here. Police scour the apartment for more. In the bathroom, they find Crane's toiletries neatly arranged: a razor, a comb, a half-used tube of toothpaste. The kitchen has a coffee cup in the sink, a remnant of his last morning. Nothing's missing. No wallet emptied, no valuables taken. This wasn't a robbery gone wrong. The killer came for Crane, and Crane alone. One detail sticks out to investigators: a small smear of blood on the bedroom door frame, just a few inches off the floor. It's faint, easily missed, but it suggests the killer brushed against it on the way out. Maybe a pant leg or a shoe. It's type B like Crane's, but in 1978 that's as far as forensics can go. No DNA, just a blood group shared by millions. It's a tantalizing clue, but it leads nowhere without more. Outside, the Winfield Place complex is quiet. Neighbors report hearing nothing. No screams, no thuds, no fleeing footsteps. The killer struck in silence and vanished into the night, or the early morning, depending on when Crane took his last breath. The time of death is pegged between midnight and 3 o'clock a.m., based on body temperature and rigor mortis, but the exact moment remains a guess. This crime scene is a puzzle with missing pieces: a locked room murder, a missing weapon, a man killed in his sleep by someone who knew him, or knew how to get to him. It's a tableau of precision and brutality, frozen in that Scottsdale apartment, waiting for answers that even now refuse to come. Up next, the suspect. The suspect, John Henry Carpenter. If Bob Crane's life was a script, John Henry Carpenter was the co-star who stepped out of the shadows. Maybe too far. By June 1978, Carpenter wasn't just a friend. He was Crane's partner in a private world of cameras, women, and late-night escapades. But when Crane's body was found bludgeoned in that Scottsdale apartment, Carpenter's name didn't just come up. It stayed there, etched in the case like a stubborn stain. So who was this guy, and why did he become the prime suspect in a murder that's still unsolved? John Carpenter, no, not the guy who directed Halloween, was born in 1928, the same year as Crane, though his path was less spotlight and more sideline. A California native, he grew up in Los Angeles, a wiry kid with a knack for electronics. By the 1960s, he carved out a niche as a salesman for Sony and Akai, peddling cutting-edge video gear to a growing market. He wasn't a star, He had a salesman's charm. Smooth talking, persistent. Kind of guy who could sell ice to a penguin. That's how he met Crane. Around 1969, when the Hogan's Heroes star was looking to upgrade his filming hobby from Polaroids to tape. The two clicked instantly. Carpenter wasn't just a supplier. He was a player. Crane had the fame, the charisma to draw women in. Carpenter had the tech know-how and a matching appetite for the game. They became a duo, prowling LA hotspots like the Safari Coffee Shop or the Troubadour, then later Scottsdale haunts like Bobby McGee's Conga Room. Crane working the room, Carpenter lugging a camera bag, setting up shots, sometimes filming together, sometimes starring in each other's reels. It was a partnership built on mutual obsession, a bromance with a seedy edge. But by 1978, the cracks were showing. Crane was tiring of it. 49, twice married, his career in the ditch. He told his son Robert Jr. he wanted to ditch the sex stuff and get serious again. He hinted to theater pals in Scottsdale that Carpenter was out after this gig. Too clingy, too stuck in the past. Carpenter, though, wasn't ready to let go. Witnesses later said he seemed possessive, almost needy, trailing Crane like a shadow that wouldn't fade. The night before the murder, June 28, 1978, was their last act. Crane and Carpenter hit Bobby McGee's, a bar just a mile from the Winfield Place apartments. They were seen together, drinks in hand, but the vibe was off. One waitress told police they looked tense, maybe arguing. Crane animated, Carpenter stone-faced. Carpenter's story? They left around 1 o'clock a.m. He drove Crane back to apartment 132A, said goodnight, and headed to his motel, the Sunburst, a few blocks away. He claimed he called Crane at 2 o'clock a.m. to chat. Crane picked up, sounded fine. That's his alibi. A late-night phone call. No witnesses. The crime scene itself was a dead end. No forced entry, no splintered door, no broken locks. The killer walked in, struck, and walked out, leaving no struggle, no fingerprints on the cord, no stray hairs under the microscope. Neighbors heard zilch, not a thud, not a scream, in the dead of night. Was it someone Crane knew? Someone with a key? The intimacy of the attack screamed personal, but the evidence whispered guesswork. In a world before surveillance cameras or cell phone pings, tracking killers' movements was like chasing smoke. Then there's the murder weapon, or lack of it. Police figured a heavy object, maybe a camera tripod from Crane's own stash, crushed his skull. They tore the apartment apart, checked trash bins, scoured the complex's courtyard. Nothing. No bloody tripod, no club, no blunt instrument with Crane's hair or prints. The killer took it, or ditched it where 1978 policing couldn't find it. Without a weapon, they couldn't link Carpenter's hands to the crime. Just his car to some blood. Then came the blood. Hours after Crane's body was found, police zeroed in on Carpenter's rental car, a 1978 Chrysler Cordoba, white with a red interior, parked at the Sunburst. Inside in the passenger door panel, they spotted it. A smear of blood, type B. Crane's rare blood type, shared by just 10% of people. It wasn't a puddle, just a streak about an inch long, with what looked like a speck of tissue in it. Carpenter's explanation? Nothing solid. He mumbled about giving a ride to a stranger days earlier. Maybe a nosebleed, who knows? But here's the kicker. Crane's skull was crushed, his brain exposed. Tissue in the car could have come from that wound. In 1978, though, forensics couldn't prove it. No DNA, no microscope, magic. It was suggestive, not slam dunk. Carpenter didn't run. He stayed in Scottsdale, cooperated, sort of. Police grilled him. Where were you? Why the blood? He stuck to his script, dropped Crane off, called him, went to bed. No murder weapon turned up. No bloody tripod. No club. And no one saw him near the apartment after 1 o'clock a.m. The case stalled, and Carpenter walked back to California, free but under a cloud. Fast forward to 1990. Detective Jim Raines reopened the file, obsessed with nailing Carpenter. He dug up that car blood photo, sent it to a lab. A technician swore he saw brain tissue in the smear, a match to Crane's injuries. It wasn't hard proof, but it was enough. In June 1992, Carpenter, now 64 and ailing, was arrested in Torrance, California, charged with first-degree murder. The 1994 trial was his crucible. Prosecutors painted Carpenter as a spurned friend, enraged by Crane's rejection. The blood, the timing, the frayed bond, it all pointed his way. They have witnesses. A woman who said Carpenter called her from Scottsdale that night, sounding shaken. Another who claimed he'd bragged about fixing problems before. Defense punched back. The blood could have been anyone's. The tissue claim was junk science. No weapon tied Carpenter to the scene. After the 6 weeks, the jury took 2 days, November 1st, 1994. Not guilty. Carpenter walked again, dying in 1998 of a heart attack, taking his truth to the grave. John Henry Carpenter remains the ghost in the story. The blood in his car, the night of Bobby McGee's, the shadow of a friendship gone sour. It's a compelling case, but not airtight. Was he a killer scorned, or just a guy in the wrong place with the wrong friend? The evidence whispers his name, but it's never screamed loud enough to convict. The investigation stalls. Then the media storm hit. Crane's sex tapes leaked into the headlines. Hogan's hero's star and sordid scandal. And the investigation drowned in noise. Tabloids spun tales of jealous husbands, vengeful women, orgies gone wrong. Tips flooded in. Hundreds of calls, mostly garbage. Police chased shadows, a jilted lover in L.A., a random drifter near the complex. None panned out. The focus on Crane's private life didn't clarify the case. It muddied it, turning a murder into a circus. By late 1978, the trail was ice cold. Scottsdale PD shelved it, not closed, just dormant. Crane's family, his wife Patty, his kids, pushed for answers, but the department had no manpower, no breakthroughs. The file sat in a cabinet yellowing as the 1980s rolled by. Carpenter lived his life. Crane's murder faded from the news, and the world moved on. Forensic science crept forward. DNA emerged in the late 80s, but no one reopened the box. It was a perfect storm of bad timing. A case too big for its era, too tangled to crack without tech that didn't exist. Up next, theories and legacy. Theories and Legacy. June 29, 1978. Bob Crane's life ends in a Scottsdale apartment. His head smashed, a cord tied around his neck. John Carpenter walks free in 1994. The trial's not guilty verdict, slamming the brakes on justice. But a case as tangled doesn't just close. It festers, sprouting theories like weeds in the cracks of unanswered questions. Who killed Bob Crane? After decades, the possibilities still haunt us, each one a thread pulling at the fabric of his double life. Let's try to untangle them. First, there's Carpenter, the shadow that never quite fades. Prosecutors pegged him as a scorned friend, the man losing his partner in crime. Crane was pulling away, done with the tapes, the late nights, maybe done with Carpenter himself. That last night at Bobby McGee's, the tension witnesses saw, the blood in the car. It's a story that fits. Type B blood, Crane's rare match, smeared on the Cordoba's door with a speck of tissue that might have been brain matter. Carpenter's alibi? A 2:00 a.m. call. No one can verify. Wobbles under scrutiny. Maybe he snapped, grabbed a tripod, and ended it in a fit of rage or betrayal. The jury didn't buy it in 94, but plenty still do. No weapon, no witness, just a gut feeling that won't die. Then there's the lover's revenge theory, a dark twist on Crane's obsession. Hundreds of women, maybe thousands, pass through his lens, some consenting, some not. Those tapes weren't locked in a vault. Crane showed them off, a trophy reel for buddies like Carpenter. What if one woman, or her husband, her boyfriend, found out? A wife in LA spots herself on a tape. A fiancé hears whispers at a bar. The crime scene screams personal, no theft, no struggle, just brutal precision. A jealous spouse could have knocked, slipped in, struck while Crane slept. No hard evidence points this way. No scorned lover named in police files. But the sheer volume of Crane's conquest makes it a whisper that lingers. Or maybe it was random. A theory less sexy, but no less possible. Scottsdale 1978 wasn't a crime hotspot, but it had its share of drifters, burglars, and barflies. Crane's door was unlocked when Victoria Barry found him. Did he leave it that way? A stranger could have wandered in, looking for cash or gear, panicked when Crane stirred and grabbed something heavy. The missing tripod fits, but nothing was stolen. No wallet, no cameras. Random killings leave chaos, footprints, noise. This one was clean, quiet. It's a long shot, yet in a case this cold, even long shots get a look. Yet why would a thief bother to take the head off the tripod, but leave the legs? There's a wild card too. Someone else in Crane's orbit. Theater colleagues, old Hollywood grudges. A crew member from Beginner's Luck. Crane wasn't shy about his lifestyle. Maybe crossed the line with the wrong person. A stagehand he bragged to. A bar acquaintance who didn't like the camera's glare. Police chased dozens of tips, over 200 in the first year. None stuck. Without a name or a motive tied to evidence, it's a theory that floats untethered. Theories got a late jolt in 2016, when Phoenix News anchor John Hook pushed for DNA testing. The blood from Carpenter's car, preserved in evidence lockers, went under the microscope. Modern tech, a last hope. Results? A bust. The sample was too degraded. 43 years of heat and time ate away any usable profile. No match to Crane, no exclusion of Carpenter, just a forensic shrug. Hook's book, Who Killed Bob Crane, keeps the questions alive, but the tech couldn't close the gap. So where does that leave us? Crane's legacy is a split screen. Colonel Hogan's grin on one side, a pile of tapes, and a bloody bed on the other. His family, Patty, his kids, still ache for closure, but the case sits cold, officially unsolved. Robert Jr. once said, I think it was someone Dad knew, someone who hated him for what he did. Maybe Carpenter, maybe a ghost from those reels. Brutality? 2 blows that cord. Feels like anger, not impulse. But the truth stays out of frame. Hollywood loves a mystery, and Crane's is a keeper. Books, documentaries, even a 2002 film, Autofocus, starring Greg Kinnear, chew on it still. For every theory, there's a hole. No weapon, no witness, no DNA to seal it. The star who filmed his life couldn't capture his death, and we're left squinting at the shadows he left behind. Bob Crane's murder is a reel that won't rewind. A story of fame, vice, and violence with no credits to roll. Was it the friend he outgrew, the lover he wronged, or a stranger in the night? 47 years later, the theories are all we've got. A legacy is unsettled as the man himself. Do you have a theory? We would certainly love to hear it and discuss it further. I'm Jay Nicoll, and this has been Ontario Cold Cases, Canada's True Crime Podcast. If you found this episode compelling, moving, or important, please subscribe, rate, and review. It helps us continue to bring forgotten cases like this one back into the light. You can find Ontario Cold Cases wherever you get your podcasts. Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Substack, and more. And remember, sometimes the coldest cases are the ones that need us the most. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and never stop asking questions. Because every case deserves answers, and every victim deserves justice.